We dive deep into real-life crime stories, peeling back the layers of mysteries that have haunted the world for years. From chilling unsolved cases to shocking investigations, we leave no stone unturned. With every video, we bring you the raw truth. No shortcuts, no fluff, just the facts you need to understand what really happened. If you're ready to uncover the dark, untold truths and explore the cases that remain unchanged, hit that subscribe button. My name is Greg, and welcome to Unchanged.
Imagine a quiet house on a snowy Christmas night in 1996. The glow of holiday lights spills onto the street, and inside, a family sleeps, unaware that within hours, their lives will shatter. A 6-year-old girl, tucked into her bed after a day of celebration, will never wake up. By morning, her body will lie cold in a basement room, her death cloaked in questions that linger to this day. This is the story of JonBenét Ramsey, a case where every detail deepens the mystery, and every answer slips further away. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey entered the world on August 6, 1990, born to John and Patsy Ramsey in Atlanta, Georgia. Her father was a sharp-minded businessman who built a thriving computer company, while her mother, a former beauty queen, carried a grace that she passed down to her daughter. When JonBenét was still young, the family settled in Boulder, Colorado, a picturesque town cradled by mountains, where wealth and tranquility seemed to define their lives. By the age of 6, JonBenét had become a familiar face in the world of child beauty pageants, her wide smile and carefully styled costumes earning her attention and praise. She shared her home with her parents and her older brother, Burke, who was 9 years old, a typical family, or so it appeared, living in a sprawling house on a quiet street. That house, on 15th Street, would soon become the center of a story no one could have foreseen. On December 25, 1996, a Christmas meant for joy turned into the beginning of an enduring enigma, one that would grip the nation and leave investigators searching for decades. The day began like any holiday. On December 25, 1996, the Ramsey family spent the afternoon and evening at a Christmas party hosted by close friends. Laughter and warmth filled the hours, and JonBenét, dressed in festive cheer, moved through the gathering with the energy of a 6-year-old reveling in the season. By 9:30 p.m., the family returned to their Boulder home. John carried his daughter, drowsy from the day, up the stairs to her bedroom on the second floor. Patsy followed, tucking JonBenét under the covers, her small frame sinking into the sheets. The house grew still as John, Patsy, and Burke retired for the night, the silence of the snow-covered neighborhood settling over them. Hours passed. At 5:52 a.m. on December 26, the quiet broke. Patsy Ramsey descended the back staircase, heading toward the kitchen, when she noticed something out of place. On one of the steps lay a few sheets of paper, a ransom note, scrawled in black ink. Her eyes scanned the words, "Mr. Ramsey. We have your daughter. $118,000. She dies." The amount struck her as oddly precise, matching a bonus John had received earlier that year. Panic seized her. She rushed to JonBenét's room, found the bed empty, and raced to the phone. Her call to 911 was a flood of desperation. "We have a kidnapping. My daughter's gone. Please hurry." Police arrived within minutes, their boots crunching through the snow to the front door. The house buzzed with urgency as officers fanned out, searching for clues. Friends and neighbors, alerted by the family, began to arrive, their presence adding to the confusion. The ransom note suggested an abduction, yet the windows and doors showed no signs of being forced open. Hours ticked by with no breakthroughs. The phone didn't ring, no call from a kidnapper, no demands beyond the note. By late morning, the investigation shifted. Detective Linda Arndt, one of the first on the scene, asked John Ramsey and a family friend, Fleet White, to check the house again. At 1 p.m., the two men descended into the basement, a maze of storage rooms and shadows rarely visited. John pushed open the door to a small, windowless space known as the wine cellar. There, on the concrete floor, he saw her. JonBenét lay motionless, wrapped in a white blanket, her blonde hair fanned out against the cold ground. Duct tape covered her mouth, and a thin cord encircled her neck, tied tight. John's cry echoed through the house as he lifted her body and carried her upstairs, laying her near the Christmas tree. The 6-year-old who had sparkled at the party the night before was gone, strangled and struck down in her own home. The discovery turned a missing child case into a murder investigation, and the questions began to multiply. What followed was a cascade of evidence and uncertainty. The autopsy painted a grim picture. JonBenét had been killed by strangulation, the cord around her neck twisted into a garrote using a broken paintbrush found in the basement. A blow to her head had fractured her skull, delivered with enough force to suggest intent. Traces on her body hinted at possible sexual assault, though the findings were debated among experts. Each detail deepened the horror, and the confusion. The ransom note became a cornerstone of the case. Spanning 2.5 pages, it was unusually long for a demand, written on paper torn from a notepad in the Ramsey kitchen. Its tone shifted between formal and erratic, almost theatrical. Handwriting experts pored over it, comparing it to samples from Patsy and John. Some saw similarities in Patsy's style, the curve of her letters, the phrasing, but the analysis never reached a definitive conclusion. The $118,000 demand raised eyebrows. Why that exact figure, tied so closely to John's bonus? Was it a clue, or a distraction? Years later, science offered a twist. In 2003, forensic teams identified DNA from an unknown male on JonBenét's clothing, traces that didn't match John, Patsy, or Burke. The finding pointed outward, beyond the family. A broken basement window, discovered by police on the day of the murder, supported this thread, an entry point, perhaps, paired with a scuff mark and a boot print in the dust nearby. Some investigators noted marks on JonBenét's skin that resembled burns from a stun gun, suggesting an intruder's calculated approach. Yet the window's frame was narrow, and a spiderweb near it remained intact, casting doubt on its role. Suspicion, however, circled back to the family. In 1999, a grand jury convened to weigh the evidence. After months of testimony, they voted to indict John and Patsy on charges of child abuse resulting in death, implying they either caused or covered up JonBenét's killing. But the district attorney, Alex Hunter, refused to move forward, citing a lack of proof strong enough for a conviction. The decision left the case in limbo. John and Patsy stood firm, insisting an outsider had slipped into their home that night. Others entered the frame over time. Bill McReynolds, a local man who played Santa Claus at a party JonBenét attended days before, drew attention. His own daughter had once been abducted, and he'd given JonBenét a card that unsettled some. Gary Oliva, a transient with a violent past, was found near the Ramsey home with a photo of JonBenét in his possession. In 2006, John Mark Carr confessed to the murder, his words vivid and chilling, until DNA testing ruled him out. Each lead flared and faded, leaving the truth obscured. In 2008, a new chapter opened. Advanced DNA analysis refined the earlier findings, confirming that the unknown male DNA on JonBenét's clothing was not contamination, it was real, and it cleared the Ramsey family. The Boulder District Attorney issued a letter of apology to John, Patsy, who had passed away from cancer in 2006, and Burke. Yet exoneration didn't close the case. No match for the DNA has ever been found, and the Boulder Police Department still lists the murder as an active investigation, though no one has faced charges. Theories persist, each pulling the story in a different direction. Could an intruder, a stranger or someone familiar with the family, have navigated the house undetected, leaving behind only fragments of evidence? Did the ransom note and basement scene mask a crime committed closer to home? Some whisper about Burke, just 9 years old then, though authorities have never pursued him as a suspect. The possibilities stretch on, each one plausible yet unproven. Decades have passed since that Christmas night in 1996, and JonBenét Ramsey's death remains a wound that won't heal, an unsolved puzzle where every piece shifts the picture. What happened in those silent hours on 15th Street? Was it a calculated act, a moment of chaos, or something no one has yet imagined? The answer, like the little girl at the heart of this tragedy, stays just beyond our grasp. Subscribe to Unchanged, where we bring you true crime stories from around the world.